blow soap bubbles until they bowed their heads and went silent, lest they provoke him. After high school, he waited tables in the French Quarter and became an apprentice to a sidewalk artist in Jackson Square and discovered that he was better than his teacher. Sometimes I would see him in the early a.m., disheveled, paint on his shirt and in his hair, eating beignets out of a paper bag and drinking café au lait from a styrofoam cup. On a particularly cold and gray January morning, I saw him hunched on an iron bench inside the fog by St. Louis Cathedral, like an unevolved creature from an earlier time. He was not wearing a coat, and his sleeves were rolled high up on his arms as though in defiance of the weather. He seemed melancholy, his insouciance a pretense for his loneliness, and I sat down beside him without being invited. The air smelled of the river, dead beetles in a storm sewer, the wine and beer cups in the gutters, damp soil and night-blooming flowers and lichen on stone. It was a smell like a Caribbean city rather than America. He told me he was going to Hollywood so he could become a film director. "Don't you have to study to do that?" I said. "I already have," he replied. "Where?" He pointed a finger to his head. "In here." I grinned good-naturedly but didn't speak. "Don't believe me, huh?" he said. "What do I know?" "You still go to Mass?" he said. "Sure." "That means you believe in the things that are on the other side of the physical world. That's what painting is. That's what making movies is. You're in a magical world others have no knowledge of." I got up from the bench. I felt old. My war wounds ached. The hardness of the bench was printed on my buttocks. I heard the Angelus ringing in the cathedral's tower, perhaps as a reminder of our mutability and ultimate fate. "Good luck," I said. "Kick some butt in California." There was a smear of powdered sugar on his cheek. For just a moment I thought of a pauper child who might have ferreted his way into a bakery. He was smiling when he looked up at me. "What's the joke?" I asked. "Anything you get with luck isn't worth owning, Dave. I thought you knew that." 25 years later, Desmond came home a director with a Golden Globe Award and an Academy Award nomination. He took up part-time residence in a house on stilts down at Cypremore Point with oaks and palm trees in the yard and a magnificent view of the bay where each evening he claimed to see sharks gliding out of the sunset, dipping in the swells, their dorsal fins as etched as broken razor blades. The problem was, nobody else saw them. A long time ago, everyone had decided Desmond was not quite of this earth and lived on the edge of a dream from which he derived both his art and his apparent contempt for success and money. He didn't fit into a categorical shoebox and consequently got into trouble with everyone. Producers, the politically correct and the non-politically correct, an actor he tossed into a swimming pool, an Arab sheik who kept a dozen automobiles idling 24 hours a day in the garage of the Beverly Hills Hotel and to whose cottage Desmond delivered a truckload of goats. On the burnt-out end of an August afternoon, following a summer of drought and fish kills and dried-out marshland that was turned into ceramic, I drove down to the tip of Cypremore Point with a young uniformed deputy named Sean McLean, who had 7 months' experience in law enforcement and still believed in the human race and woke up each day with birdsong in his head. He had been raised in a small town on the Louisiana-Arkansas line and had an accent like someone twanging a bobby pin. At 5 a.m. the same day, we had received 3 911 calls about a woman screaming from somewhere at the southern end of the point. One caller said the scream came from a lighted cabin cruiser. The other callers were unsure. The sun was up when the responding deputy arrived. Nobody at the docks or boathouses had heard or seen anything unusual. I could have written the entire incident off, but any time 3 people report a scream, they're calling not about a sound, but about a memory that lives in the collective unconscious, one that goes